Hello, Imogen. What an amazing role this is for you to play.
Yeah, she's a good one.
You get you get to do so many different things.
Yeah.
In the season one finale, of course, everybody was talking about it. Royal comes to the realization that Autumn is Amy. How does that change Autumn for the second season and trying to wrap her head around what that means? And how does it change her direction, which is already a little kooky?
Yeah, I suppose it's the emotional engine of Autumn. It's a key piece of information for her. She's a searcher and she's trying to answer the questions about her identity and her past as much as everybody else is. So I think that piece of information, it connects her to the family in this completely new way, but sort of confirms what she suspected. So it was really interesting to play with that information, and I was aware of it during season one, so I was happy that in season two I actually got to do something about it.
Did it was it difficult to play that in season one if you were trying to kind of keep it as a secret? Because you couldn't go all in.
Yeah, it was. It's sort of that inkling, the sort of inkling that you can feel when you come across people in your life, right? And you think, I've met you before, or I feel like I've known you forever. And that sort of spooky but very reassuring feeling. That was sort of something to lean into in the first season. And then season two, I was kind of like, well, family's family.
And I read that you had been read in on the map for the series early on and like where your character was going to go. And I'm wondering how have things changed, if they've changed at all with the new showrunner? And are there were you surprised along the way for season two? What's it like kind of working under new leadership with this amazing story?
Charles Murray was a great showrunner for season two, and he really understood what we cared about and what was important to all of us from the first season that was created by Brian Watkins, our amazing first showrunner, who we all adored as well. And Charles really respected what it was and had his own ideas that were really beautiful. And he was an incredible collaborator, always respecting what came before as well. And yeah, we spoke a lot about Autumn's trajectory, and he's so smart and he handled it so sensitively and creatively. So I was really excited to work with Charles on the character, and it's quite rare that you come across someone who's as willing to sort of investigate that emotional journey, like with the actor, and Charles was was very present for all of that. So yeah, I had an idea as to where it was going to end up, and I knew that it probably wasn't going to be it's just simple, neat result. Yeah.
I think nothing about Autumn is simple or neat.
Yeah.
Nothing.
That's
And
too
you
boring.
and in season one, you got to have some amazingly absurd scenes working with, oh my gosh, I forgot his name, but he plays Billy.
Noah Reed.
Yeah, and the two of you just got to, it was almost like a Pulp Fiction-esque, your dance scenes and the shoot 'ems and the everything was just macabre and fun. Do we get to see more of that in season two? How would you relate what happens in season two to those kinds of absurdities?
Yeah, I think there is certainly more of that, and it's I'm like, how do I talk about this without giving something away? I think Autumn leans into what she discovers at the end of season one more, her power and the sort of disciple-esque nature that Billy was for her. She doesn't forget that. And I think in the next season is sort of she's coming into her own awareness as to um, how she might seduce somebody emotionally into assisting with her kind of quest, you know.
Do you know what her quest is? Is it to become a cult leader?
I think it's a lot of different things. I don't think it's as simple as sort of one end result. I think she is very emotionally broken, and at the heart of her, I think she is a person who'd like to know where she came from. Um, and I also think that she's an example of someone who has been trying to say something for a long time and isn't being taken seriously and isn't being believed. So perhaps because I play her, I'm able to defend some of the sort of edgier elements of the way that she moves through the world. But of course, power is interesting to her. And I think she's piecing things together, but I think I hope that it's more of a kind of nuanced search that she's on rather than just like the goal of being a.
Right, right. And it would be hard to have this understanding that you think that you belong here, and you try to explain to other people that maybe you might belong here, and but without being able to overtly say it. How does it affect her to, no, for her family not to believe her, for the people she believes are her family to flat out kind of, turn on her and not fully accept her? I mean, gosh, Royal tried to kill her.
Yeah.
He's had this idea the whole time. I think I know who I am, and
Yeah.
now you're my grandfather and you're trying to kill me. What does that do to somebody? How does that change where she goes from there?
Yeah, it's got to be tough, hasn't it?
Right?
It's a tough cookie if your own family are like, no, we have nothing to do with you. And of course it changes. I mean, the dynamic between her and Royal is sort of it's not ordinary. And I think then discovering that this individual is you're not only related to them, but it's your grandfather. It's sort of a whole, it's a lot to process. So I think it's just a constant recalibration. And I think that's an interesting idea in life that how does it affect you if you meet someone in one capacity and then it's revealed that you actually have this incredibly intimate sort of blood relation? Does that do something to you? It probably does. So I think it's a total trip. I mean, it must also be satisfying because she had a sense of these kindred kind of kismet souls. Um, but I think she perhaps didn't expect that Royal would literally be, a grandfather figure. The archetypal notion of that is a very comforting, reassuring, stable figure. So it sort of turns it on its head that it's him.
And before we go, how does she embrace, or how does Cecilia embrace her with this new knowledge?
Well, I guess that's a question for Miss Lily Taylor, but I think Cecilia's obviously on her own search and she's confronting her faith and she's pretty much exploring everything she thought to be true in a new way. And I think there's an openness to Cecilia that's incredibly poignant. And she's brave. She's asking the questions that Royal can't. And sometimes asking questions is the hardest, most vulnerable thing you can do. And that's what her character does. And I was so grateful that I had all that stuff with Lily Taylor. She's one of my favorite actresses in the world and always has been. So when I got the script, I was like, yes, I was very excited about that.
And would you step into a hole if there was a hole before you?
Yeah, why not? At this point, let's go. Yeah.
With the world as it is, you just
Yeah,
never
let's go in the hole. Yeah.
Thanks so much for talking with me today.
Thanks a lot.